Right, the focus now shifts from Masrat Alam to the land acquisition bill. Congress workers are protesting against the NDA government's bill. Fierce protests by the Congress party are being witnessed in Chandigarh. Controversial land acquisition bill, remember, is set to be tabled in the Lok Sabha today. A nearly 8-hour-long discussion is also scheduled. The government sought to allay the concerns of the opposition leaders and also some of its allies, including the Shiv Sena and the Shiromani Akali Dal, earlier on in the day. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu had met opposition and ally leaders earlier this morning. The Congress emerged from that party saying that it will not budge and not relent on a single amendment which will be brought by the NDA government. Remember, there were indications from the Modi government that it was willing to relent on certain sticking points in order to also project an image of being pro-farmer. Now, what we understand is the Congress is not going to budge and said that there will be no compromise on the NDA government's bill, saying that they will not accept a single change to the 2013 legislation that had, remember, been piloted by Jairam Ramesh. These visuals on your screens there are of Congress workers protesting in Chandigarh against the land acquisition bill. The land acquisition bill, remember I said, will be tabled in the Lok Sabha today, and an 8-hour discussion on the bill is expected to take place, and protests like these are going a long way in exerting pressure on the government as far as this contentious bill is concerned. Is the Modi government going to compromise? That really remains the big question. We have Manjeet Sehgal joining us on the phone line. What really are the main contentions of the Congress as far as the land acquisition bill is concerned, and to what extent really is it willing to go?
Well, the Congress has decided to launch a nationwide protest. Chandigarh protests are part of the protest. So the president of the Youth Congress a couple of days ago had said that it will gherav the parliament and that will not allow the Modi government to pass the contentious bill. And besides, the Congress and other parties have also announced that they will also protest. Akali Dal has also announced, and besides Akali Dal, the AAP has also said that it will not allow the government to pass the bill.
Absolutely. And Manjeet, the Congress is also going to really try and weigh in on other parties who are also protesting the land acquisition bill. It would want its voice among opposition leaders to be the loudest.
Yes, of course. All the parties have now studied the bill, and they think that it is not in the interest of the farmers, and it is very. All the parties say that it should be very important to consult all the farmers while acquiring the land for any purpose, be it the industrial or the hospitality industry purposes.
Absolutely. And as we understand that this is a protest that has been organized by Congress workers in Chandigarh, are we likely to see other protests in other parts of the state as well?
Well, Youth Congress has announced that it will protest against the bill throughout the state. The president of the Youth Congress, Raja Amrinder Singh Varing, had said that he has asked all the district chiefs and the people at the also at the tehsil level to organize a protest and raise a voice against the bill.
Absolutely. Amrinder Singh has also said that the BJP-led NDA government, of which the Shiromani Akali Dal is part and parcel, is subtly trying to revert back to the land acquisition law of 1894 of the British, which was absolutely exploitative and had been enacted mainly to serve the colonial interests. That comparison really being brought forth by Amrinder Singh, because the protests really in Punjab and Haryana are also going to be about grabbing the opposition space as far as the land acquisition bill is concerned. Remember, it has already been opposed by the Shiromani Akali Dal and also the Aam Aadmi Party, and the Congress really hoping that its voice against the land acquisition bill that has been brought forward by the NDA government is in fact the loudest. The Congress government, as we understand, has refused to compromise, saying that it will not back down on its demand, that there will be no compromise on any amendment of the 2013 legislation that had been piloted by Jairam Ramesh. The Congress is not going to budge, and as we know that there is a debate, that is a discussion, I beg your pardon, that is scheduled on the land acquisition bill. An 8-hour discussion is scheduled to take place in Parliament over the land acquisition bill today. We have Kamaljeet joining us live from Delhi for more on the story. Kamaljeet, protests like these in Chandigarh, certainly the Congress is hoping to exert more pressure on the government, not just inside Parliament but outside as well.
Avril, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Arun Jaitley met with the leader of opposition, both from Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, to break that particular deadlock. All political parties had their representatives there. It was not an all-party meet, but mostly to get the opposition leaders to agree for a discussion. Prime Minister has already made a statement that they will try to do away with the controversial clauses, but definitely the sort of protest we've seen in Chandigarh and earlier in Delhi with Anna Hazare there, the Aam Aadmi Party government also supporting that particular protest. This is becoming extremely difficult for this Modi government to push for this land acquisition ordinance. Many are saying this is anti-farmer and pro-industrialist. It takes away the rights of the farmers. And remember, most of India is the agricultural land. So yes, this is something which is primary as far as the farmers are concerned. And that is why we see larger section of society obviously voicing their opinion, saying this is definitely not farmer friendly. The Congress though is insisting that the 2013 ordinance bill should be the one that should be brought into the focus, not the new clauses which they say are obviously anti-farmer. So this is going to something which is not going to go down well. They'll really have to bulldoze through, but this is a democracy. Remember, they have the numbers in Lok Sabha, but this is going to be very, very tough for the Modi government in Rajya Sabha.
Kamaljeet, a large part of the morning has been dominated by the controversy over Masrat Alam's release. How is that going to impact the 8-hour discussion that had originally been scheduled for the land acquisition bill?
Well, there is going to be a further discussion in Rajya Sabha. Remember, the upper house has also demanded that Home Minister speak on this particular bill, on the controversy of Masrat Alam. And yes, he'll have to give further explanation because the upper house does have that kind of discretion where there could be question and answer. So he'll really have to stand up to that. But yes, a discussion on land acquisition. We've seen Mamta Banerjee, who's already met the Prime Minister, voicing her opinion. So this is something which is very difficult, but they'll have to start somewhere. So it starts, the bill has been introduced in Lok Sabha. There would be a long debated discussion, but yes, since they do have the numbers in Lok Sabha, the chances of getting stuck in Rajya Sabha are much more. We've seen earlier also whether it is the left with Sitaram Yechury or the other opposition parties in Rajya Sabha. So tough time ahead for Modi government in Rajya Sabha, but perhaps with the numbers, the majority in Lok Sabha is something that they're actually expecting a heated debate there, but not so much of a problem in Lok Sabha.
All right, Kamalji, thanks very much for that. The Congress Youth Party workers protesting in Chandigarh against the land acquisition bill there.